You promised in 2019 in a manifesto that you were going to get rid of what's called Section 21, where landlords can evict tenants for no reason.
What they've come out again now and said is they're not going to scrap Section 21.
Today, the Renters Reform Bill has passed through Parliament, but it's a very different looking bill to the one first proposed.
I wish that Michael Grove was here and I could just tell him how to do his job properly.
I agree with you though. I don't think you should ever have to go to court.
I wouldn't think it was particularly unfair if they said you're not allowed to evict a tenant at all.
It was a Section 21 no-fault eviction and they didn't need to give me a reason.
Screw you, landlord. We single-handedly, the three of us, just solved the entire renters reform nonsense.
Hello and welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. My name is Russell Leeds and I'm joined by Samuel and Kelly. And we're going to be discussing an interesting topic. The government has recently passed the new Renters Reform Bill and they've somehow managed to anger both the tenants and the tenant groups like Shelter, but also they've angered landlords as well. I think one of the reasons they've done that is the jumping back and forth. I've heard you obviously talk about this as well, Samuel. What are your thoughts on Michael Gove and how he's sort of getting rid of Section 21 and then not getting rid of it, back and forth, back and forth?
Well, it's the fastest way to annoy somebody, to say something and then change your mind. I remember when I got on a plane one time and they said, Wi-Fi is going to be on the plane. And everyone was like, oh, great. And then, oh, actually, no, it's not. Now everyone's mad. So, yeah, it is the way to irritate everybody. But what is Shelter saying? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, Shelter have come out and said that actually this new version, because obviously it's had lots of versions over the time, this new version of the Renters Reform Bill is actually worse, in their opinion.
For the tenants.
For the tenants than the current system. Now, obviously, you're a tenant, Kelly. What
a working class tenant as well.
A working class tenant.
Yeah, we got two people on the show. We got the capitalist landlord and the working class tenant.
I am working class as well.
He was.
If you are working class, can you become not work, or is it who you are, or is it how much money you earn and what you do?
I think it's who you are.
I think it's who you are.
So would you describe both of yourselves as working class?
I would say so.
I am. Definitely. What? No, I am. I definitely 100% am. I'm.
I would say, what's the one that's slightly lower than working class?
Prison?
Yeah, incarcerated. Yeah, definitely incarcerated.
All right, so have you got thoughts on this? Do you think...
What are the points? Let's just debrief the points, and then we can give our opinions then.
So one of the biggest points is there's two ways you can currently evict a tenant. Right, you've got Section 21, which is a no-fault eviction, and you've got Section 8, which is where the tenants broke the agreement, and you have to take them to court to kick them out. Now, what they're saying is no-fault eviction is not fair, because it's your home, right? And you're living there, and if you haven't done anything wrong...
But there was many reasons, though, even without Section 21, why you can still evict a tenant. For example, if you want to move back into the house, that classes under a Section 8, doesn't it? So I'm not worried about Section 21 at all, personally. And I think that if, as a tenant myself, not anymore, but I was a tenant for many, many, many years, it's horrible when you're in a property, you're a good payer, it's your home, you've got kids, that you found schools locally, to just have a landlord just go, actually, you're out just because. I'm not against Section 21s being scrapped as long as there is still a way to... And they're also tightening up with tenants. They're making it, if the tenants are being antisocial, they're making it easier to get rid of tenants in some ways. So I'm not... A lot of landlords are losing their mind over Section 21 being scrapped, but personally, as long as there's a fair way to get out for a good reason.
That's the issue.
So we're like, three reasonable people.
Yes.
All from a working class landlords, but also capitalists, right? Yes. So we're pretty fair. If we were sitting on the...
Everyone thinks they're fair, though, don't they?
I don't think most people are fair, because you're always going to be biased to your... You can understand the other person's side, but you're going to be biased to your own. You have to be. You can't put somebody else's needs above yours.
But would you not say as a capitalist, as a business person, that's what you have to do to be successful? You have to put your customers, you have to think from your customer's perspective.
I think more so in business, but in property...
But property is a business.
It is a business, but yes, because you want your tenants to be happy. But I couldn't... If they've scrapped that and now I have no way to get them out except for if they're not paying their rent, what if I do want to move back in? What if my situation's changed?
Are there more good landlords or good tenants? Or more bad landlords or bad tenants?
I think people are people. And when I used to work in an estate agent, I've had landlords that we have a portfolio for them, and then they're a tenant in somebody else's property, and they were really shitty tenants, but then wanted their tenants to be good. So I think there's no. I think people are people. People will do what they want to do.
But I think that a lot of the people that the tenants that don't pay rent and that they think that the government should pay everything, they're the people that are the most stingy, cutthroat people on the planet.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
they'll be the people that will go out with the group of friends and they'll be like, "Oh, I forgot my card."
Yeah.
They're like just not good people.
they're
Or
not-
if they had a tenant, as you said, interestingly,
Yeah.
if they had a tenant, they'll be horrible
Awful.
landlords. But then it's all it's all one way.
It is.
So you don't think that we're fair, reasonable people? You think that?
No.
No.
What? Not us three.
Here's,
No, really.
here's the thing, though, right? This is why I think we are,
Speak for yourself.
right?
That was me.
See, you said you can only look at it from your own point of view. I have been both a landlord and a tenant. So have you.
Yeah.
Right. So surely we can see it from both sides. In fact, most of my adult life, I've been a tenant.
You can see it from both sides, but you're now a landlord. You've got multiple properties. If you now, the only way you can get them out is if they don't pay rent. What if anything can happen? Those tables can turn. What if you now need to move back into one of your houses and you can't?
You can do it with a Section 8. As long as you can prove that you need to
Move back in. I thought that was only a Section 21. I thought rent was only for. I thought an 8 was only for rent. Breach of rent.
No, there's actually 17 reasons
okay.
as to what. Most people, it's not common knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, antisocial behaviour.
Yes.
There's loads. There's absolutely loads of reasons why you can evict a tenant on Section 8, but one of them isn't. But the thing about Section 8 is
I was going to say there's a problem though with Section 8.
you've got to go to court.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cost. See, but that's a cost.
Well, not only is it a cost, it's also really time consuming.
Yeah, and you've got to wait to see if the courts have got.
What
available
about
dates.
also when you're taking them to court with a Section 8, they have to be in arrears of 2 months.
That's
right?
the bit that I was. Yeah.
But here's the
honing in
problem.
on.
When you're taking a tenant to court and they're 2 months in arrears, what they'll do is just before
pay.
the court date, they'll just pay a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
they're
there's
1 month in arrear.
But then there's also a loophole in the system from every which way. You got landlords that just say, "I'm moving back in," and
Yeah, and
pretend,
they're not.
but they're not.
And they're just going to relet it.
So really, the whole system is flawed. I wish that Michael Grove was here and I could just tell him how to do his job properly.
What would you
Because-
tell him?
Well, for a start, I'd say that it needs to be fair. And I think that right now...
he's told Michael go.
That you need to be fair.
I'd tell him, make it fair, Michael.
He thinks it's fair already.
Well, no, all right, that from the start though, that whole court process, I think is a and the fact that courts are so backlogged.
Yeah.
We do not need more court cases
Yeah.
right now. So to make it so that the only way to get rid of a tenant is through the courts
ridiculous.
is completely moronic.
Well, this is why. Basically, what they've come out again now and said is they're not going to scrap Section 21 until the courts can cope with the demand.
That's never.
Which is
that's never.
It is going to be never. I agree with you though. I don't think you should ever have to go to court.
No.
I think there should be rules. If the tenant breaks the rules,
What about if you're a commercial tenant and you don't pay? It's so fast and bang, you get them out. And I think it should be the same with residential tenants, but there should just be a longer grace period.
yeah.
But you shouldn't
That
have to.
makes
You should be able to just say, look, you're behind this much.
You need to go.
Therefore, we can get a bailiff.
I think that the no fault in favour of the tenants now. I think the no fault time. It's 2 months, isn't it?
2 months is really short.
That is a joke.
Yeah, sure.
That is a joke. If you've done nothing
Imagine
wrong,
that. You got a pregnant wife.
Yeah.
And you've just settled, and you've also. How can you even move we've just moved a lot of our family to the area. If people are renting, it's so unstable.
it is.
It is.
And landlords are jerks. A lot of landlords.
Some of them are jerks.
They are. Well, they do things like, what about you when you paved your garden?
Yeah.
What-
So
tell
I was renting a place
Yeah.
because I've been a tenant loads, and I said to the guy, he came round. I knew the landlord a little bit. I said, "Can I put there's a dirt patch by the window?"
Yeah.
I said, "Can I put a patio down
Yeah.
over the dirt patch?" He was like, "Of course,
Yeah, do what
of
you
course
want.
you can.
You're
Make
adding
your garden
value to
better,
my
adding
house."
value, etc."
Yeah.
So I did it. Anyway, about a year later, I moved out, and I got a bill through to take off the deposit to remove the patio.
You're having a laugh.
And then every week,
That's just
Russell
wicked.
would look over the fence to see if he'd actually put it back like it was. And had he? Of course not.
Patio's
Oh
still
my
there.
god! See those? That's
Tell me
scummy.
about me.
That's a scumbag.
When I was living in Warsaw, many years ago, the fireplace was really old style. Do you remember when I was in Argyle Road?
Yeah.
The fireplace was really old and dated, and there was flowery carpets and stuff. And I just changed it. I just updated it. I got rid of the old fire because it didn't work. It was broken and it was an eyesore. I put a nice new modern fire in. I changed the carpet. I put a little, what do you call that, TV partition wall in.
Yeah.
Made it beautiful, made it mine. Lived there for about 2 years. Then moved out, and then the landlord said, oh, we're going to put it back like it was. You've
No,
done this.
you're not.
And took my deposit,
You're
right?
a liar.
Now, I kind of knew that would happen. And I just took it on the chin.
Yeah.
Because I thought, you know what? I knew I was going to live there 2-3 years. I wanted to do that and whatever.
was it.
Right? So I took it on the chin. But you know what really pissed me off? Last week.
Last week.
What?
Last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I go to my old houses.
And have
Yeah,
a look.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is this like a
I
normal
thought
thing?
I was a weirdo.
No,
I look.
So you go to your old houses and you just want to see what's going around. I
Yeah.
normally do within that postcode specifically, then within quarter of a mile, just have a little feel, right? I did that, and guess what house? Same house, my house. The one that I lived in was there. I clicked on the pictures.
Of course it's there.
He had my carpets. He had my fireplace. He had my TV wall. And I'm thinking, screw
Yeah.
you, landlord.
That's a scummy person.
That's a scumbag move. So he charged me because he said he didn't like it, but then fast forward 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. He's still got my same carpets, my same nice new fire that I put in there. That's a scumbag move.
That is a scumbag move. That is, and that. All right. So how do
There's
we
no reason.
fix this then? If we're going to fix it, do we need multiple different types of eviction notices, or could we have
Just one.
I agree.
Just
One
one.
where you don't have to go to court.
Yep.
What? You wouldn't keep the court one at all?
Do you know what? Do you know what I wouldn't do as well? Because it's confusing. Most landlords don't have a clue how to evict. Oh my gosh, I've got this
don't.
tenant and they're not being good, or I need to get rid of them. They don't know how. They need to go and pay lawyers. Do you know
Yeah.
why things are complicated? So that the professionals can charge high consultancy
absolutely.
fees. That's why. You know how complicated tax is, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Did you know that clothes are not VAT registered unless if they're child's clothes, right? So if you buy child's clothes, it's
Yeah.
not VAT registered.
But adults' clothes are.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
However, did you know that if a child's piece of clothing has animal fur on it, now it's VAT registered. Unless it's a particular type of animal
Oh,
fur.
God.
Why is this so confusing?
Because they want it to be.
They want it to be confusing so that they can charge us to figure it out.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with tenant evictions. It's so confusing to evict a tenant. That like you just a moment ago, you're a very educated person, very
Very.
smart person. And Section 8, you were like, oh, how does it work exactly?
thought
in
it was
terms of-
only rent.
Right, but
And
lots of people do. And that's you. It's very smart,
And being
very
an estate
educated,
agent many
being
years
an
ago.
estate agent. Me, myself, I don't know everything. I don't know lots of things.
can't.
People, someone recently put a video together where they got loads of videos where they put all the stuff that I've ever said wrong and made it into one video.
People have got a lot of time on their
Yeah, they
hands.
have. But all things where I wasn't sure. I think
Yeah.
one was I said something like the income that you can take as tax free
Mm-hmm.
is 12,750. It was like, it's actually 12,570. I'm dyslexic. I got my numbers mixed up.
God.
But it's like it's so complex for a reason, and complexity is the thief of execution. And they want to stop people, in my opinion, becoming landlords, getting on the property ladder. And one of the reasons they do that is by making it so confusing.
All right.
So it needs to be simple. One eviction.
One eviction notice. That's it.
Yeah.
What are the rules then? How can you, to make it fair, what are your grounds for evicting someone?
I think, okay, the grounds I'm not overly sure on, but I can tell you is that it's just a grace period. 2 months to move. Let's say you've done nothing and it's just a no fault eviction. 2 months on paper looks great. But in 8 weeks, if you've got a child that's in school, you've got to find something in the area. You've got to find something that's still affordable.
6 months.
Yeah.
But I agree.
3 to 6.
I think 6 months.
I think 6 months as
If it's not their fault, that means you just want to rent it to someone else. because
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, give you 6 months. I think that's fair. And I
agree.
think if
Don't
they don't
think that's
pay.
long.
No, it's not long because it's no. If anything,
It's
I'd
no
say
fault.
no time. I'd say that I wouldn't think it was particularly unfair if they said you're not allowed to evict a tenant at all if they're paying their rent. But I think that's a
That's-
little bit much.
That's a
Or
bit
you do a
restrictive.
fixed term, and then let's say, for example, AST is normally like what, a year?
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example,
well,
a year. And then
No,
6
these days
months
they're
rolling.
trying to tie you into 3 years.
But I'd take that. That was a tenant.
Yeah,
I would.
I would if I know. Yeah, if I
If
know
I was
I'm
happy
going
to
to
live
stay.
there.
Another thing as well that's bad from landlords' part is the fact that they can just hijack rents. Because I think that, and I'm against rent control, but I think depending on how it's done, like if you're paying £1,000 a month and then the landlord turns around when your 12 months finishes and says, now it's £2,000. It should be in proportion. The landlord shouldn't be able to jack the rent up higher than how much the rent is actually worth.
So what would
who's
you
the
say the
check?
proportion? Like, what's the proportion?
Well,
then?
again, it's the same as commercial. With commercial property, you have a surveyor come and say, "This is what
What
the
it's
rent.
valued at."
This is what the rent is actually valued at."
Yeah.
But that's creating extra complication then. Then you've got to get a surveyor out every time the contract comes up for renewal.
Yeah, but there could be an appeal process. If the landlord jacks it up a lot, there's an appeal process where you say, hang on a minute.
Could you not have a fixed percentage that it goes up?
No,
by?
because
Well, it's meant to. Some of them are meant to go in line with RPI, but my friend's rent went up £350.
Let me
after
ask you
a
a
year.
question, Kelly. If you had a house that you bought 15 years ago
Yeah,
and the tenants moved in and they were paying 575 quid,
yeah,
and then you forgot about the house because they were so awesome as tenants.
yeah.
And then you realised that they were still in there, good tenants, never caused any issues,
Yeah.
always kept the house good, always paid on time. They're still paying 575, but the actual rent now is £1,100. What do you do? Do you increase it? How much do you increase it by?
I'll increase it, but not to price them out because they have given me no trouble. Hence the reason.
What'd you put it up to?
Property.
What'd you put it up to?
What's the market value? 1,100.
1,100, and they're paying 575. They've been in there 15 years.
Is this a real case?
Yeah, it's a real case. Yeah,
And
I've got lots of cases.
and mine's
similar
paid.
to this.
My mortgage hasn't changed, or is it paid up?
No mortgage.
No
I've
mortgage.
I've got one that's a bit like that. Not as high a jump.
No mortgage, and we're at £1,100, £700.
I put 750.
Fair,
But
fair dues.
I actually did it in increments. I said, listen, really, you should be paying like £1,000 or
Yeah.
more. We're going to put it up to 600 right now as
Yeah.
from 3 months. But then next year, it's going to be 750.
That's fair, but the thing is, that's more than fair, which is why I said
it
7.
is.
And also, they are aware. Just
Did you not
because
see the headlines? There's no landlord that's more compassionate than me in Britain.
I did not see that.
That was a quote in GB News by me.
I didn't. I did not see self-proclaimed. I did not see that. I think that's more than fair, and they are aware, even though they might not be happy, but they're aware. They know what their friends are paying in rent.
Yeah.
So if you can know it's 1,100, someone says
They're
7.
not going to move that, are they? If you say
Absolutely
750, they're not going to go,
not.
right, I'm leaving.
To go where? To
go and pay
next
somewhere
door?
1,100?
or 12.
But my attitude was they're such good tenants. and
Yeah,
they've done
don't disturb them.
Yeah.
But
So I
still-
just put it up in line with inflation.
Yeah, that's fair.
As opposed to in line with what the actual market's doing.
That's fair. Other landlords would come and say,
Well, what about this then? What about if the landlord wants to put up the rent, they have to get a surveyor out to prove it. So from the tenant's point of view,
Yeah.
that's the rent. The rent's the rent.
yeah, and then you can't argue, can you?
But if the surveyor comes out and ups it, then the landlord can up the rent.
That's fair.
What about when a tenant is paying rent? Here, what would you do in this situation then, Kelly? You're a landlady.
Yep.
The landlord's paying rent, the tenant's paying rent £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Good tenant, no problems. Then they lose their job.
Okay.
And they claim benefits.
Okay.
Would you accept that it's okay if they're on benefits?
What? And they're still able to meet the full rent?
Yep.
Yeah.
What about if they're living in a HMO and there's other properties that are professionals?
Now this is on
Nuanced!
yeah, because now they're going to be in the house all day.
Yes. Taking
Gas,
up bills.
water, electricity.
Yep.
I think you let them, if they moved in when they had a job.
But now all the other tenants are going to be upset, going to leave because this is supposed to be a professional house share, and you've got someone that's just claiming benefits, sat watching EastEnders all day.
But if someone has had if they've been a long time job haver and they've just fallen on hard times, the likelihood of them sitting there day in day out without trying to look for a job is low. So I would keep an eye on a situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if we're 6 months down the line,
You said a minute ago that you weren't a fair and reasonable person. You sound very fair and reasonable to me.
no, I am.
But you only see stuff from your point of view.
I can see it from their point of view, but if it starts to get detrimental to me, then that's what I said. I'm going to keep an eye.
But I suppose that would then be, it's not them not having a job that's detrimental.
It's what they're doing.
detrimental. It's what it would be antisocial behaviour, I would have thought, that was the issue.
Yeah, but it's hardly that antisocial.
No, if they're just sitting in their room,
What's the issue then?
the issue
If they're
is
sitting in their room.
One
who
bad
cares?
apple.
no, but
man.
one exactly. So that person could make. We've got a seven bedroom HMO, and then 6 people are pissed off because this one person's there. After
But
6
how would
months,
they
got to
even-
go.
How would they even know?
No, they know. They know.
And it might affect the bills. Like, well, it would affect the bills, and then he might be like, "Oh, actually, everyone else's bill's going to go up £100 a month because you're
The
eating and
point
drinking
is,
all day."
it's complicated and it's nuanced, and there's no one strict way. But at the moment, it's so complex and it's so difficult for everybody.
All right, so far, what have we got? We've got, if it's a no-fault eviction, 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Right.
say 3 to 6. He's very kind.
I think 6. As someone
Very
that's been-
kind.
I think-
Yeah,
I think
6 is
kicked
not
out there
long.
for no reason.
I've been kicked out for no
Multiple
reason.
times.
I've had to move in 2 months. So
Yeah, it's horrible.
no, it was
stressful.
It was dire.
Because you look and you're like, nothing's on that I like.
No,
Great.
and that is what kept happening.
And you know what? It's so hard to move house.
Yep.
Removal vans.
Costly.
Yep.
You can't be told to leave within 2 months.
You can't. And at the
It's just
moment,
not right.
I seen a viewing the other day, and it was a corner house. The queue to view was round the corner, so you can't. You might even find a house that you like, and you go, and then tomorrow it's gone.
Here's the thing though, right? I actually think that leaving 2 months' notice is detrimental to the landlord. Let me
Because
explain.
they can relet it quickly.
I'll explain why. When I was told I had 2 months' notice, Do you know what I thought? I don't care.
Care about you lot.
No, if I don't find somewhere, I felt no pressure.
Yeah, but you've got to stay. Yeah, you've got to
If
say.
I don't find anywhere.
Yeah, most people aren't rule breakers like you that only see it from your point of view.
Well, I would
do you know
do
what
that.
I also think should be a rule though?
Mate, most
I would do
tenants
that.
do that. That's exactly what tenants.
I would do that.
I think one of the reasons why tenants are like tenants' rights, I don't care,
Yeah.
is because things like the 2
Are
month rule, where
so
they just look at it and go,
stingy.
that's just unreasonable.
Yeah.
Do you know what another thing I do think though? Give 6 months, but I think that the landlords should be allowed to facilitate viewings.
That's fine. That's absolutely
Because that's another
fine.
bad thing when the tenants are refusing to let
Yeah.
the landlord do viewings.
Yeah.
It's unreasonable. It's
That
like
is
it's
unreasonable.
literally going to take
Yeah.
10 minutes for them to have a quick look round.
Yeah.
But you're going to cost me thousands of pounds just because you don't want someone to pop in
So
the
should
house.
the
Yeah.
landlord have the right to access the property with notice? What do you think?
Yeah, notice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
24 hours written notice.
24 hours written notice, so they can
Email?
access the property
3 days
anytime.
notice, I think, if it's if it's a family home, yeah. Because the house might be a
Gotta
bit
tidy
messy and tidy up, and 24 is too short. You might have plans. 3 days notice, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that case, that would get over the viewings or any other issue, inspections, anything at all,
Yeah.
right? I agree.
But the landlord, I think, should only be able to come out and do viewings and stuff like that if there's notice being served.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the landlord could be annoying and be around all the time. You need peace,
Peaceable.
quiet, enjoyment.
Yeah.
What about for inspections?
Yeah, that's different.
So once every 6 months.
Yeah.
I think an inspection,
Or-
even 24 hours written notice, is just an inspection. It's not a viewing.
But we're there or therereabouts, but somewhere
Yeah.
between 24 hours
Yeah.
and 3
Yeah,
days. All right. So what are the reasons then they could evict them where they give less notice than the 6 months? See, I think that you should be able to give much less notice if the tenant doesn't pay.
Yeah,
for
then
example.
2
Yeah,
months.
renter is
2 months.
antisocial.
And
But
social
I think
behaviour.
after 2 months, you serve them 1 month notice.
Here's-
And if they don't move, bailiffs.
Then
Here's the
bailiff.
thing though, right? This is where it has to go to Section 8 has to go to court,
Yeah.
right? Because there'll be antisocial behaviour. That's subjective. What you might think is antisocial behaviour, you might think is perfectly acceptable.
True.
And vice versa. Not paying the rent, there's no question there.
No.
You either did or you didn't.
didn't.
So I don't think not paying the rent should have to go to court or anything. I think not paying the rent.
Just
Who would prove it? Estate agent, the letting agent.
It's just there, black and white.
yeah, it's just a bank statement.
Yeah.
Landlord's bank statement.
So if you haven't paid the rent, 2 months notice, you've got to go.
Yeah.
yeah.
And when you who would enforce it or whatever? If you how would that work?
Bailiffs.
I think.
Bailiffs.
Yeah.
So you just show the
What do you
bailiff.
think have to be bailiffs? Not just.
No, if
normal-
they don't leave.
Oh, if they don't leave.
Certified bailiff.
Oh yeah, then.
So the landlord would employ a bailiff, and then that money would come out of the deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
There we
I
go,
think that's
Michael
fair.
We single-handedly, the three of us,
we've
to
turned it
solve
around.
the entire renters reform nonsense.
Just
in
like
20
that.
minutes.
I
It's
think,
simple though, isn't it?
I think we have solved.
Do you know
that.
what I
I
also
think
think?
so.
Tenants wouldn't mind that.
The only
Tenants
thing
would
we-
be up
They
for it.
wouldn't.
The only thing we haven't totally solved is other reasons other than not paying, or is there no other reasons?
No, I think if they're being antisocial, but most things, I think the antisocial stuff has to be pretty severe to kick them out personally. I think the rules should be a bit different if they're in a HMO, which we maybe won't have time to go into in this video. But if they're in a single family home,
House, yeah.
the antisocial behaviour I think has to be pretty severe to kick them out.
What about you don't? Feel
Namely, criminal activity.
Police, yeah.
What about
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't feel they're looking after your property? You go in on your inspection, it's fucking horrible. What'd you do then?
No, I think that's a reason for them to go.
I do, but who decides?
If the damage is
Because what we're trying to avoid is court, isn't it?
yeah, if the damage is more than the deposit, then you can
Then you
give
can
them
go.
a notice.
If it's more than cosmetic.
But who decides?
Oh, it's just the damage, isn't it? It's like when you get a survey on a property and they can tell you how much things.
So
are
would
gonna
we
cost.
have? So rather than a court system,
Mm-hmm.
would we create a new job of property surveyors who maybe go in and do the inspection?
assess
and
the
they
rent,
decide?
assess the damage?
yeah, I think it's just the people that do inventories and stuff. They should take it on.
So we hire. We go. Forget the court system.
And the court system's so slow.
The
and
court
backlog.
system's horrendous.
It can take 6 months.
We're going to create a new system called inventory police,
Inventory
right, or
plus.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
They go in every 6 months, and then they, not the landlord,
No, they.
decide if the tenant's broke it and if the tenant is kicking out.
When are we setting up this company then? This
yeah,
inventory
honestly.
company?
And can we call it Inventory Plus? I like that one.
Yeah, inventory plus.
We'll be the first one.
It's like PIMS though, isn't it? When we created Property Investors Mediation Service, because there was so much. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
There was so much nonsense going on with deal sources, and someone would sell someone a deal, it wouldn't work. We set up something called Property Investors Mediation Service, where we became the inventory police effectively. Where we said, look, if there's any disputes, come to us.
We'll
solve
sort it out.
And it's been absolutely 100% effective to date.
I think that makes sense.
Thousands of members.
No, I think that makes sense. I think Inventory Plus makes utter sense.
And what do they get, like a percentage of the rent?
No, they just
Fixed fee.
Yeah.
Fixed fee for going out each time.
Yeah, just like an inventory, just like an EPC check.
I'd much rather pay them than pay all the lawyers.
100%. And they're completely biased, and then there shouldn't be any delayed time frame because there'll be loads. Ours will be the biggest and the first, but there'll be others.
Yeah.
I like that.
There we
I
go.
like that.
Inventory plus.
I think we've solved the housing crisis.
Michael Grove, quit.
Get a clue.
We don't need you anymore, bro. Just quit. We see Kelly. Come on stage.
Come and sit here.
Inventory
We'll
plus.
sort you out.
The thing is, this is the point, isn't it? This is what's so frustrating. This is why people get so frustrated with politicians and politics and the government, because it is simple, it is straightforward.
Yeah.
It really is. But they make it so complicated with their agendas and their backhanders here and their backhanders there and trying to please this type of people group.
Yeah.
No, let's just go back to reasonable and fair
I agree.
and simple.
I think we'll end it on that. Well, so guys, thanks very much for joining us.
you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe, and don't forget, we will see you next week.